So, you know, okay,
Are you doing it?
What if he gets what if Nate and Conor gets 3 million pay-per-views?
It's not out of the question.
It's not.
It's a stretch, but not out of the question.
It's a stretch. But if Nate can talk the right amount of shit, you know, and people get excited about it. Honestly, right now, for Conor, what else is there that's even close?
As far as fight?
In MMA?
Well,
what else is even close?
The only argument is you can say Conor's the only draw. He can fight Billy from Afghanistan and still get 2 million pay-per-view buys.
Nate Diaz is already deep in training camp for a fight that doesn't officially exist yet. No opponent announced. No contract signed. But here's what's absolutely wild about this situation. While the entire MMA world is sitting around waiting for official announcements, Diaz is grinding like his life depends on it. We're talking those legendary marathon training sessions that would break most professional athletes. Razor-sharp boxing combinations, relentless cardio that goes on for hours, and that signature Diaz intensity that made him a household name. But here's what's got the real fight experts talking. This isn't some casual comeback run where an aging fighter shows up for a quick payday. Sources close to his camp are saying this looks like vintage Diaz preparation. The kind of focused, disciplined training regimen he had during his prime years. And that's raising some serious questions about what the UFC has planned for this White House card.
I think the answer is very obvious. I think we would all rather see Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3. Of course, they are 1-1. The rubber match needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen in the UFC, maybe it happens down the line when they're out the UFC and they're both in the 50s, right? That fight needs to happen at some point in a car park, in a pub, in a restaurant, or better yet, at the White House in the UFC's octagon. That would be a fight that we all want to see, and I think it kind of needs to happen. Anyway, so that's what Nate Diaz should be targeting. That's what he should be talking about. Saying, never mind Michael Chandler, man. I can't do a Nate Diaz impression, right? He should say, never mind Michael Chandler. He's lost his last few fights. We're 1-1. Let's go. Let's do it at the Oval Office, on the White House lawn, wherever the fight's going to take place, right? That's what they should be.
Here's where it gets even more interesting. Joe Rogan dropped some major insight that changes how we should look at this entire situation. He pointed out something crucial that most people are missing. At this stage of Diaz's career, we're obviously talking about a massive, life-changing payday. But Rogan emphasized that Nate brings something incredibly rare to the table. He's got this devoted fan base that follows him regardless of who he's fighting. Think about that for a second. Most fighters need a big-name opponent to sell pay-per-views. Diaz sells tickets based on his name alone. Rogan attributed this to Nate's completely unfiltered personality. The guy says exactly what he thinks, smokes weed openly, and doesn't pretend to be something he's not. Fans connect with that authenticity on a visceral level. And if this White House card actually happens, Diaz's presence alone would make the entire event feel historically significant.
Not out of shape. They're both thin.
Yeah.
They look like they're fit. I see them training. I see, pictures of them with jiu-jitsu gis on and hitting the bag and shit. It's, who knows, man? I mean, it's also like they want that big payday, especially now, and they should get that big payday. But goddamn, if I was the UFC,
You pay them?
Fuck yeah. I think those guys are superstars. I think the UFC doesn't know. I think one of the reasons why Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor was so big is because people love Nate Diaz too.
Yeah,
It's not just Conor McGregor.
No doubt, no doubt.
If Conor McGregor, no disrespect to Eddie Alvarez, but when Conor McGregor fought Eddie Alvarez, the vast majority of the eyes were on Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
When Conor McGregor fights Nate Diaz, you're looking at a lot of people who love Nate Diaz.
Yeah. But how do you think that happened? Like, how do you think Nate got such that star power? You think it's like his attitude?
Fuck. He legitimately doesn't give a fuck.
Now here's where the technical breakdown gets fascinating. Respected coach and analyst Din Thomas explained why the fan-based brothers can compete at an elite level much later in their careers than most fighters. Their fighting style isn't built on explosive athleticism that fades with age. Instead, it's fundamentally based on technical boxing skills, relentless cardio, and an iron chin that seems to get stronger over time. While other fighters rely on speed and power that diminishes after 35, the Rogan brothers have perfected a methodical approach that actually improves with experience. Thomas confidently stated that both Nate and Nick still have plenty left in the tank. They're not depending on physical gifts that fade. They're using refined technique, superior conditioning, and fight IQ that only gets better with age. This is why Nate can take years off, come back, and still look like he belongs in there with the best welterweights in the world.
I mean, honestly, if anybody could still fight in their old age, the way the Diaz brothers fight, their style will allow them to fight longer.
Yeah.
Because they're not like the best athletes. So they rely on skill and just
endurance.
Here's where things get complicated behind the scenes. Dana White revealed the real challenge with booking Nate Diaz fights. While he has massive respect for Nate's drawing power and fighting ability, actually finalizing a deal with him is incredibly complex. Fans assume the UFC can just snap their fingers and make any fight they want. The reality is far more intricate. Nate has a tendency to push for high-profile opponents or completely unexpected matchups that can stall negotiations for months. He'll be offered a solid fight while asking for Francis Ngannou or some completely unrealistic opponent. When it comes to building a White House card, Dana explained that while Nate's name adds undeniable value, the real difficulty comes in structuring the right deal and finding an opponent that satisfies everyone involved. That's the logistical nightmare that happens behind closed doors while fans are wondering why fights take so long to get made.
But, getting a fight done with him isn't easy as it seems. Everybody's like, well, why don't you make a fight? Well, why don't you make a
Speaking of unrealistic expectations, Dana White completely shut down rumors about Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal for the White House card. He called those rumors absolute nonsense, emphasizing that most of what circulates on social media about MMA is wildly misleading. Dana pointed out that even his own social media feed, despite being at the center of the MMA world, shows very little of this unfounded speculation. But here's the kicker. The speculation around Nate Diaz feels completely different. It feels legitimate and grounded in reality. Why? Because we can see Nate's proven preparation. His loyal fan base is already mobilizing. His history in massive fights gives real substance to the conversation. This makes his potential return one of the few matchups that fans can genuinely get excited about because it actually feels like it could happen, not just wishful thinking from social media rumors.
This is the biggest thing on social media now. Everyone's talking, that Chandler's out and Masvidal's in, and it's Conor and Masvidal.
You know what's funny? So in my algorithm on Instagram, I have nothing MMA.
Right?
Literally nothing MMA pops up.
Oh,
in
mine's
my
politics.
algorithm.
That's my...
Yeah, mine's definitely, there's some politics, but yeah. I don't listen to any of the goofy
No.
that goes, no.
Is that considered goofy?
That's goofy shit. Yeah. The MMA world, I don't listen to any of that. So literally none of that is on my algorithm. People say, "Oh, did you hear?"
You ever heard? He's like, I believe you. He's not heard about that. It's funny. You type in one of their names too, and that's all people seem to be talking
Literally,
about.
Almost everything you see on the internet about our sport is wrong.
It's not real.
It's all wrong. Yeah.
Michael Bisping dropped the bombshell that everyone's been thinking but nobody wanted to say out loud. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor III isn't just a possibility. It's the fight that absolutely needs to happen. With both fighters holding a decisive win over the other, this rubber match isn't just overdue, it's practically inevitable at this point. Bisping jokingly imagined this clash happening right on the White House lawn itself, but his point was serious. This is exactly the kind of high-profile, legacy-defining fight that Nate should be aiming for. It's the one matchup that would set the entire MMA world on fire. The anticipation has been building for years. Fans have been demanding this trilogy since their second fight ended. If this actually comes together, it won't just be another fight on a card. It would transcend sport and become a genuine cultural moment that fans will remember and discuss for decades.
I think the answer is very obvious. I think we would all rather see Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3. Of course, they are 1-1. The rubber match needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen in the UFC, maybe it happens down the line when they're out the UFC and they're both in the 50s, right? That fight needs to happen at some point in a car park, in a pub, in a restaurant, or better yet, at the White House in the UFC's octagon. That would be a fight that we all want to see. And I think it kind of needs to happen. Anyway, so that's what Nate Diaz should be targeting. That's what he should be talking about. Saying, never mind Michael Chandler, man. I can't do a Nate Diaz impression, right? He should say, never mind Michael Chandler. He's lost his last few fights. We're 1-1. Let's go. Let's do it at the Oval Office, on the White House lawn, wherever the fight's going to...
But wait, it gets even better. Bisping intelligently looked at the bigger picture here. If Nate truly steps back into the octagon, and if Conor makes his long-awaited return, then that trilogy fight is unequivocally the fight to make. Their rivalry has already secured its place among the most iconic sagas in UFC history. Placing this rubber match on a White House card would instantly raise the stakes for the entire event, even with other major matchups on the lineup. For Bisping, this isn't just about promotion or pay-per-view numbers. He believes McGregor doesn't actually need another fight at this point in his career from a financial standpoint. However, that primal drive to compete never truly fades for a fighter like Conor. That chance for one more defining, legacy-cementing moment on such a historic stage makes his presence feel almost inevitable. And honestly, the numbers would be absolutely staggering.
If Nate Diaz was to come back. But if he was, and if Conor McGregor does actually make it back, I think that's the fight to make all day long. The 1-1, there were some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House would be absolutely insane. It probably will have Tom Aspinall versus John Jones in the main event. It probably will have Conor McGregor versus someone, Michael Chandler or Nate Diaz, in the co-main event. So that just kind of sets the tone for how big that card would be. What do you think? Do you think Conor McGregor will actually make it back? Of course, he hasn't fought since 2021, right? It's going to be 5 years since he last fought. I, for one, fair play to the guy. Fair play, man. Respect. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to come back. He's got lots of other avenues and ways to make money. But fighting is something that never leaves you, okay? It's a part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's part of your soul. And he wants to come back and he wants to get his hands raised in victory. Of course, he wants to come back and be...
Hold up, because here's where the expert analysis gets really interesting. A highly respected MMA insider shifted the focus to timing and context from the fans' perspective. He noted that the next must-see fight depends entirely on Nate actually returning to active competition and making a statement with an impressive welterweight victory first. Only after achieving that kind of impactful return would a trilogy bout with McGregor truly capture the overwhelming attention it deserves on a White House card. While hardcore fans are debating potential matchups against Jorge Masvidal or other welterweight contenders, influential insiders like Ariel Helwani are quietly but confidently leaning toward Diaz versus McGregor III as the next show-stealing bout everyone should be watching for. The timing has to be perfect, but all the pieces seem to be falling into place.
Not the fight I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay? And he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens. That's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje, and for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next is strange to me. Very strange to me, because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC.
Then Ben Askren really stirred things up with an absolutely controversial take that's guaranteed to ignite the MMA community. He suggested that despite all the hype, social media buzz, and fan devotion surrounding Diaz, at his core, he's actually just an average fighter who has masterfully marketed himself as an elite competitor through sheer force of personality. Askren pointed directly to Diaz's modest professional record as evidence, framing his reputation as being more about cultivated image than tangible results. He even warned that calling out this perceived discrepancy could ignite a massive social media firestorm from the Diaz army. Whether you agree with Askren or not, his provocative opinion adds another fascinating layer of intrigue to any potential White House showdown. It's the kind of debate that gets fans arguing for hours and drives engagement through the roof.
So listen, Nate Diaz, he is most puzzling. He's not. I don't even think he's that good. I'll go get his record if you want me to. But he has convinced people he is good at fighting somehow, some way.
He's pretty good.
I'm gonna go get his damn record, Daniel. It's not.
But he won the Ultimate Fighter. He won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm saying he was good for the time that he was fighting.
No, he wasn't. He was average.
He was. Yeah. Okay. I'm just.
Okay.
Trying
I'm gonna go get the record. I'm gonna go get the record. They're gonna yell at me. I know this. Okay. Let's see. Well, his record is 21-13.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes, that's not that great.
Okay, I take it back. I'm taking it back.
And he was and going into the UFC, he was, I think it was 5-1. So within the UFC, he was 16-12.
That's not good.
That's not very good.
That's not good. There's really no way to twist that into good.
Yeah. So but you know, his personality, and that's another one's like, how did his personality catch on? He says funny things sometimes. He's a little bit different. I don't know. Yeah. And listen, if you post this clip, please don't post this clip.
Now let's talk about who else might grace this historic card. Chael Sonnen meticulously broke down the potential lineup and star power that could shape the White House event. He's remarkably confident that Michael Chandler will absolutely be featured, throwing out possible matchups including a clash with Benoit Saint-Denis, a rematch with Dan Hooker, or perhaps a BMF title bout, though he admits the latter seems less likely given the tight timeline. Sonnen specifically highlighted Ilia Topuria as a major international draw and suggested that Alex Pereira, currently unbooked, would very likely be added to the card. According to Sonnen, this strategic combination of big names ensures the event will have genuine explosive star power that captivates audiences both domestically and globally. The card is shaping up to be absolutely stacked.
Telling you, the most confident guy that I believe is going to fight is Michael Chandler. Who's he going to fight? I think that Benoit Saint-Denis is possible. I think that a rematch with Dan Hooker is possible. I think there's a chance of a quick turnaround with the BMF, but I don't know how bullish I am just because that turnaround would be so quick. But I am very confident that Chandler's going to be on there. I will tell you, Alex Pereira, if you want to know the sport's biggest stars, you've got Alex Pereira and Sean O'Malley that have battling for the top spot for 2 years now. But from what we're told, Ilia Topuria is a massive star, particularly internationally. So now that you've got the return of Ilia Topuria, it would seem as though you would use your big star over there. It would also seem with Alex Pereira, since he's not booked, that he would.
Sonnen wrapped up his predictions with a very specific call that got everyone's attention. He firmly believes that both Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira absolutely need to be featured on the same lineup. He articulated that strategically pairing these two explosive stars would generate a monumental amount of excitement that would be impossible to ignore. Furthermore, he anticipates this pairing would emerge as the standout news from the entire event, giving fans an incredibly clear glimpse of the high-stakes matchups they can expect. Sonnen hinted that with names of this caliber, this card could easily become one of the most talked about and unforgettable events in recent UFC history. We're talking about a true spectacle that could break pay-per-view records.
I do think you're going to get Ilia and you're going to get Pereira on the same card. I think that's going to be exciting. I think that's going to be the news that comes out of this meeting.
But here's where things get absolutely wild. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, considered by many to be the greatest of all time, believes Islam Makhachev has the perfect chance to literally make history. His vision: Makhachev taking on Ilia Topuria at the White House card, then retiring at the absolute peak of his career, following in the footsteps of his mentor Khabib Nurmagomedov. Johnson sees Islam as an utterly dominant force, completely capable of beating Topuria decisively and leaving no doubt whatsoever. He envisions this matchup as a career-defining finale that would cement Makhachev's legacy in the most impactful way imaginable. For fans, this promises explosive fireworks and a truly historic finish that would be talked about for generations. The symmetry of following Khabib's path would be absolutely perfect.
I didn't think Islam was going to be able to, I didn't think Islam
is small for 170. I've seen him in person. I've trained with him. He's a big fucking dude. And who would Islam fight next at 170? You know what? I think Islam is destined for... He should fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. If he beats Ilia Topuria, he retires. Islam has plenty of money, right? Go out on your shield like Khabib did. A lot of people in MMA don't want to see that, but in mixed martial arts, us athletes, we stay too long at the party. There's no reason for an athlete to continue to come to the head and all that stuff. If I was him, fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. You beat Ilia Topuria, walk away. I'm sure he made another one. That shit probably goes as far as fucking Russia. So there's no...
And get this, Sean O'Malley isn't holding back about what he sees as the fight that truly matters for him on this White House card. While he acknowledges that Merab Dvalishvili deserves a title shot based on merit and his incredible winning streak, O'Malley is absolutely adamant that a White House showdown with Petr Yan is the matchup that would make the biggest splash. He frames it as a high-stakes, all-American clash that gives him the opportunity to represent the country on the sport's most prestigious stage. For O'Malley, this isn't just about another fight. It's about that singular, career-defining moment that forever etches a fighter's name into history books. So there you have it. Nate Diaz is training for a fight that doesn't officially exist, but all the biggest names in MMA are positioning themselves for what could be the most historic card ever assembled. Whether it's the long-awaited trilogy with McGregor, a statement-making return against a top welterweight, or something completely unexpected, one thing is clear. This White House card has the potential to reshape the entire landscape of mixed martial arts. The preparation is real, the star power is undeniable, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. Do you think we'll actually see Diaz versus McGregor III on this card, or is Dana White setting us up for something even bigger? If this breakdown helped you understand what's really happening behind the scenes, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell because this story is just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. But wait, there's something even more fascinating happening that nobody's talking about. The psychological warfare has already begun, and it's not coming from where you'd expect. While everyone's focused on official announcements and contract negotiations, Nate Diaz is playing a completely different game. His silent preparation speaks louder than any trash talk or social media campaign ever could. Think about the mind games here. Every other fighter is waiting for phone calls from the UFC, posting cryptic messages on Instagram, or doing podcast tour to stay relevant. Meanwhile, Diaz is in the gym at 5 in the morning, throwing combinations like his career depends on it. That's next-level psychological dominance right there. Here's what makes this situation absolutely unprecedented in modern MMA. We're witnessing a fighter essentially force the UFC's hand through pure preparation and fan demand. Dana White has built an empire on controlling narratives and timing announcements perfectly. But Nate Diaz has flipped that script entirely. By training publicly for a fight that doesn't exist, he's created this massive wave of anticipation that's putting pressure on everyone involved. The UFC can't ignore the buzz he's generating. Potential opponents are starting to call him out because they see the momentum building. Fans are already buying into the story before there's even a story to buy into. It's marketing genius disguised as old-school work ethic. Now let's dive into something that separates Diaz from every other fighter in this conversation. His ability to make any opponent instantly more interesting. Look at his fight history. Jorge Masvidal was a solid welterweight before their clash, but that fight turned him into a mainstream superstar. Anthony Pettis got a career resurgence just from sharing the octagon with Nate. Even Conor McGregor's biggest moments came when he was trading shots with a Diaz brother. There's this magnetic quality about Nate that elevates everyone around him. For the White House card, this means whoever gets matched up with him instantly becomes part of something bigger than just another fight. They become part of Diaz mythology. But here's where the business side gets really intriguing. Industry insiders are whispering about something that could change everything. The White House card isn't just about putting on a great show. It's about proving that MMA belongs on the biggest stages in America. Having Nate Diaz on that card sends a very specific message about the sport's evolution. He represents the rebellious, authentic side of fighting that originally drew fans to MMA. While the sport has become more polished and corporate over the years, Diaz embodies that raw, unfiltered energy that made people fall in love with mixed martial arts in the first place. His presence legitimizes the entire event in a way that pure athletic achievement alone can't match. Speaking of legitimacy, there's a fascinating dynamic playing out with the younger generation of fighters. Guys like Paddy Pimblett, Sean O'Malley, and even Khamzat Chimaev have all mentioned wanting to share a card with Nate Diaz. They understand something that casual fans might miss. Being on the same lineup as a legend like Nate isn't just about the paycheck or the exposure. It's about absorbing some of that authentic fighting spirit that can't be taught or manufactured. These rising stars know that competing alongside Diaz automatically raises their own credibility. It's like getting a master class in what it means to be a real fighter, not just an athlete who happens to compete in MMA. Here's something that's flying completely under the radar, but could be massive. The international implications of this White House card are staggering. We're talking about showcasing American fighting culture on the world's biggest political stage. Nate Diaz, with his Stockton roots and blue-collar mentality, represents something uniquely American that resonates globally. Foreign fighters have always talked about wanting to prove themselves in America. But imagine being able to say you fought at the White House. That's not just career-defining, that's generational legacy material. For international stars like Topuria or Pereira, sharing a card with Diaz at this venue would cement their status as global superstars forever. But let's get real about the elephant in the room. The pressure on this event is unlike anything we've ever seen in combat sports. This isn't just another pay-per-view where a bad fight gets forgotten in a few weeks. Every single moment will be analyzed, criticized, and remembered for decades. The fighters know this. The UFC knows this. And Nate Diaz definitely knows this. That's why his preparation is so crucial. He can't afford to show up at 70% and hope his personality carries him through. This has to be vintage Diaz performance, the kind that reminds everyone why he became a household name in the first place. The stakes demand nothing less than perfection. Here's what's got veteran fighters and coaches buzzing behind the scenes. The ripple effects of this White House card could fundamentally change how the UFC approaches major events. If this experiment works, if the combination of political significance and sporting excellence creates something truly special, then we might see more events that blur the lines between entertainment and cultural moments. Nate Diaz isn't just fighting for his own legacy here. He's potentially pioneering a new era of how combat sports intersect with American culture. That's a responsibility that would crush most fighters, but it's exactly the kind of pressure that brings out the best in someone like Nate. And here's the kicker that nobody's talking about. The training footage and behind-the-scenes content from Diaz's camp is already generating more buzz than most actual fights. His social media isn't filled with trash talk or promotional material. It's just pure, unfiltered work, hitting the heavy bag, rolling on the mats, running those legendary Stockton streets. Fans are eating it up because it feels genuine in a world full of manufactured content. This authenticity is exactly what the White House card needs to feel legitimate. While other fighters might show up with perfectly choreographed entrances and scripted interviews, Diaz will bring that raw, honest energy that reminds everyone why they fell in love with fighting in the first place.